When Sigmund Freud first met Carl Jung, they talked non-stop for 13 hours.
This was 1907, and for the next 6 years the friendship blossomed.
Freud was famous already for his psychoanalytic method, and Jung was a young Swiss psychiatrist. It was a passionate and surpassingly weird relationship, which given the people involved perhaps shouldn't come as a surprise. Freud called Jung the Joshua to my Moses, fated to enter the promised land, which I myself will not live to see. High praise and lots of pressure, to be sure.
In 1909, they traveled together to America in order to give lectures on psychoanalysis.
When they disembarked in New York Harbor, Freud said to Jung, "They don't realize that we are bringing them the plague," which has always struck me as a particularly badass thing to have said. Their trip to the US was a success, and they spent lots of time together analyzing one another's dreams. It was around this time that Jung wrote to Freud, "Let me enjoy your friendship not as one between equals, but as that of father and son. This is undoubtedly an odd thing to say in any friendship, but especially this one. When your friend is the originator of the Oedipal complex, the idea that the son, on some unconscious level, wants to kill the father." This did not go unnoticed by Freud, and he freaked out a little. One day, chatting in a German cafe, Jung started talking about mummified corpses. Freud interpreted this as Jung wanting to kill his father, in this case, Freud himself. He fainted and had to be revived. Not long after that, it all began to unravel. Not just because of their strange relationship, or because they got sick of each other, although they clearly did. No, there was a real intellectual disagreement. Freud was all about sex. The libido and its repression is the most basic cause of human behavior and human failure. The unconscious is where all these dangerous, messed up emotions and desires are stored away under lock and key, inaccessible except through psychoanalysis. Freud saw sex everywhere. Jung thought that that was a bit much. The other wedge in their friendship was Jung's interest in religion and myth. Jung believed in the collective unconscious, a sort of humanity-wide reservoir of universal symbols that make up the stuff of culture. Freud rejected the idea as flatly unscientific. Freud thought Jung betrayed psychoanalysis by becoming a mystic. Jung hoped that a statue would fall on Freud's head. At last, Freud ended it all in a letter from 1913. But one, meaning Jung, who while behaving abnormally keeps shouting that he is normal, gives ground for the suspicion that he lacks insight into his illness. Accordingly, I propose that we abandon our personal relations entirely. And that was that. The rest is silence, Jung noted in his diary. Only it wasn't. Freud's output increased in his later years, reaching for more shibboleths to demolish. Jung's later writing proliferated as his ideas of archetypes and the collective unconscious hoovered up everything, from mythology to flying saucers. Jung inspired artists like Jackson Pollock and Jorge Borges, and existentialists like Viktor Frankl. But who triumphed in the end? Which thinker can lay claim to greater influence? Of course, it's the one that told us that our conscious life is only the tip of the mental iceberg, that found sex and death to pervade our behavior, that described parental relationships as rather more complicated than they seem, and that most of all gave us the theories of psychoanalysis. Sigmund Freud.